I am going to tell you a story, said Daddy, about a whistling boy. It is a true story too. The boy was asked to a party and he went. All the children were playing games, follow the leader, prisoner's base, blind man's buff, hide and go seek, still pond no more moving, and many other games. They asked him if he wanted to play and he put his hands in his pockets and whistled. Then they had supper and they asked him if he liked creamed chicken and he whistled. They asked him if he liked ice cream and he whistled. And as he whistled the same 3 notes whenever he was asked anything, they didn't know whether he liked ice cream or not. They gave him some supper when everything was passed around and he whistled when he took his plates and his cup of cocoa. When he had finished, without saying a word to any other children, he got up, put his hands in his pockets once more and whistled. The children began to giggle, for they thought he was such a funny boy, and a funny boy he was. He had been rather spoilt and he hadn't really learned to play with other children. They felt very sorry for him, but still he wouldn't say a word or do anything. They had asked him to the party because he had just come to the town to live and they thought he must be lonely. Well, when he got home he felt very badly, as many shy people do who have been rude because they were so shy they didn't know what to say, and so did the wrong thing. He cried when he was going to bed. And he was much ashamed of himself, for he thought it was a dreadful thing for a boy to cry. After a while he went to sleep, and in his sleep the Dream King came to him. I'll help you, said the Dream King, and I will not let you behave as badly as you did this afternoon if I can help it. For listen, boy, if you whistle again instead of talking and playing, I will take away your tongue for a whole month and you won't be able to make any sound. And the dream seemed so real to the boy that he tried his best to act as other boys, and he succeeded too. Now, there were 2 Tonsils and they had made their home in Lucy's throat. Tonsils always make their homes in throats. They do not care for other kinds of homes. They are all alike in that way. Now people are very different. Some people like to have their homes in country places. Others like to have their homes in big cities where there are crowds and crowds of people. Still others like to have their homes in seaside places, so they can be neighbors of dear old Mother Ocean. But Tonsils like to make their homes in throats. And these twin Tonsils were in Lucy's throat. One Tonsil was named Ton Tonsil and the other was Tom Tonsil. Hello, Ton, said Tom. Are you up to mischief? Indeed I am, said Ton. I'm causing trouble. How about you? Doing all I can think of, and I've a good many pranks left to play, too, said Tom. I tell you what, we have a loyal and faithful little friend in Susie Sore Throat. She's a mean one. She's a good playmate for us. She's going to be with us today. Gracious me, it's surprising how Susie does turn up, and half the time no one knows from where she comes. She's going to bring her little half-brother along with her, you know, Ronald Raw Throat. They're very fond of being together. I think we'll have a fine party, said Ton Tonsil. I feel puffed up with excitement already. So do I, said Tom. I tell you, Lucy's throat is a fine home for us, said Ton. Yes, said Tom, it's gorgeous. We have had lots of room to grow big with pride, and we have. We've grown big with tonsil pride. They say it's not nice for tonsils to grow so proud because they've nothing to be proud of. But gracious me, that is just the point. Things that have no reason to be puffed up and proud are usually the kind that are most conceited. And those creatures who are modest and not conceited are usually the ones who can do things. You'll almost always find it is that way. That's the way it usually is, said Ton. Well, we mustn't talk anymore. We must get bigger and bigger and just let Lucy know we're making ourselves quite at home in her throat. In fact, she needn't think she has any rights to her own throat. We're the ones with rights. And don't forget us, said the little adenoid cousins. Don't forget us. We won't, said the tonsil twins. We won't forget you. Along then came Susie Sore Throat and Ronald Raw Throat, and Carrie Cold came too, and so did Clarence Cough. Oh, they all came and had a party in Lucy's throat. Well, they liked the party so much that they came again and again. Sometimes they had little parties and sometimes big parties. One day, however, Lucy decided to let her tonsils know that they could not make their home any longer in her throat. So she went to the big doctor who had promised to take them out and who had told her that she would get rid of those wretched little twins. It wasn't pleasant to think of getting rid of the twins. They wouldn't come out by a mere kind word. No, they had to be cut out. Harsh ways had to be used with them. But Lucy was brave, and she knew that once she got rid of those wretches her throat would never again be the place for the tonsil parties. So the big doctor took the tonsil twins out and their adenoid cousins along with them, and the tonsils wept red tears as they left Lucy, but they said each to the other, "It was all our fault for behaving as we did. The tonsil twins had been taken away from Lucy's throat and no longer did they make their home there and give the horrible parties they had been giving for so long a time. And, while Susie's sore throat was leaving, nice visitors came to see Lucy. A most attractive little toy wooden bunny came. His ears could be moved up and down and a most roguish look he would have when one ear was up and the other down. Lucy gave him chicken broth and he was extremely pleased. If he had not been afraid his wooden face would have cracked he would surely have smiled, for it was pleasant indeed when one was only a little wooden bunny rabbit to be given chicken broth. It was most superior chicken broth, too. Oh, yes, for it had been made for Lucy and was made so as to give her lots of extra strength. Besides the toy bunny, a rag doll came to see Lucy. Yes, a very lovable, sweet rag doll came to visit her. She wore a little knitted hood on her head and a little sweater and a knitted scarf to keep her warm. And she had a pair of warm knitted shoes. She wore her outside jacket, too, over her sweater, and she took along her little apron, so she could wear that when she played, so as not to hurt her good dress. Oh, yes, the rag doll was going to play with Lucy and have an excellent time. Then many members of the game family came to call on Lucy. They, too, came ready for play. Yes, there is nothing in the world that a game is more ready for than a good play. Then people came to see Lucy, too, and congratulate her on the fact that the tonsil twins and the adenoid cousins had left. A lovely gray felt bunny and a brown felt monkey always were with Lucy. They had always belonged to her and, though new visitors came, they did not leave her. The monkey put his arm around the bunny and with his other arm on the pillow by Lucy he looked most comfortable. He hadn't left her when she had gone to have the tonsil twins out. He had been such a comfort. Of course, when they were actually to be taken out he had to stay behind, but he was with her just as long as he could be and he joined her again as soon as he could. Well, he was saying to the gray rabbit, "I'm laughing up my sleeve." "How can you do that?" asked the rabbit. "You haven't any sleeve and you aren't laughing up your arm. You're not even turning your mouth in that direction. What do you mean by saying that?" "Oh, it is just an expression," said the monkey. "When creatures say they're laughing up their sleeve it does not really mean that they're holding open their sleeve and saying, 'Ha, ha, ha, up it.' But it means they're laughing inwardly or to themselves or so no one can see their laughter. That is what the expression means. So, you see no one can see my laughter, but I'm laughing all right at the good joke played on those wretched tonsil twins." Just then there came another visitor. This time it was the Prince of Desserts, Prince Ice Cream. Proudly the prince came in on the best and most royal of saucers and just at that moment Susie's sore throat left for good and all. Illustration. A lovely felt bunny and a brown felt monkey always were with Lucy. Page 50 _ Daddy had a story about a little dog that he knew would please both the children. "Would you like to hear of a little dog who was homesick?" he asked. "Yes," said Evelyn, "we would love to hear about it. That is, if he didn't die of homesickness." "No, indeed," said Daddy. "This little dog didn't die of homesickness, for he was sent home again and then was perfectly happy. He was the pet puppy of his mother, and he had told the man who had sold him to a little girl that he didn't want to go. The man who sold him thought that the little girl would give him such a nice home, and so she did, but the little puppy wanted more than just a nice home. He wanted his mother. Of course the little girl hadn't hesitated a moment about buying him, for he was a beautiful little Boston bull, and she promised him that she would make him happy. Now, when the little girl reached home with her puppy she gave him a great big bowl of the most delicious warm milk and a good puppy biscuit. But the puppy wouldn't touch the milk and biscuit. At bedtime the little girl showed the puppy his basket, which was nice and soft and comfortable. She thought that after a good night's rest he would be hungry for his breakfast and feel better. But morning came, and the puppy still refused to eat. And, would you believe it, hours passed, and the puppy still would not eat. Then the little girl decided that the only thing to be done was to take her beautiful puppy back to his mother. She ordered her pony cart to be ready for a certain hour, and off she started, holding the puppy by her side. When the puppy came near his home and began to see familiar sights it was all she could do to keep him in the cart, and when they were right by his home she could not hold him, for with a bound he was out and frisked and jumped over his mother, and she did the same, looking as if they would almost kill each other with joy. "I guess he had better stay home," said the man. "Yes," answered the little girl, "this is where he belongs." "I want to tell you a story this evening of the horse called Lady Ethel," said Daddy. One time Lady Ethel's master took a long ride far out into the country away from where people lived. He felt quite ill after he had ridden a long way, and all of a sudden he got quite dizzy and fell. Lady Ethel pulled him out of the road and off to one side so no one taking the same road would go dashing over him by mistake. And then she went back home, all the distance alone, and Nade said that the people came out with her and found her master. He was quite ill after that, for he had been feeling poorly when he had started out on his ride, but if it hadn't been for Lady Ethel he wouldn't have had the chance to have been taken home and put back to bed and nursed back to health. He said he was grateful to all who helped him get well, but the one he was most grateful to of all was the faithful Lady Ethel. And every day while he was ill they led her under his window and she neighed happily after he had called out with as much strength as he could. "Hello, my faithful, fine Lady Ethel. We're going to be mixed together, I hear," said the tomato. "You don't say so," said the milk. "Well, we will be chummy, won't we?" "Yes," said the tomato. "They're going to make cream of tomato soup. It's supposed to be quite delicious. And when we're both well cooked they will mix us together and season us up very fine and we'll be eaten as the first thing at the meal." Yes, soup is very apt to take the lead. It's a leader, soup is. Good, said the milk. But how silly to call it cream of tomato soup, if they're going to use me. I'm milk, I am. Oh, well, said the tomato, let them have their little airs and graces. And maybe when you're mixed with me you're every bit as good as cream. Who knows? Why did you have your toenails cut, your skin oiled, and your feet sandpapered? Asked Sally of an elephant in the zoo. One question at a time please, said the elephant. I can't answer all three at once, for then the answers would be all jumbled up. Besides, I don't know how to say more than one word at a time. My nails were cut because they needed it. And, come to think of it, I can answer all your questions at once. My feet needed to be sandpapered and my body needed to be oiled. My skin required it, and so the keeper looked after me, as he did after my friends here. This he said waving his trunk. But what do you do when you are not in the zoo? Asked Sally. They don't have sandpaper and nail scissors in the jungles, do they? Ah, that is where you do not understand, and where the keeper does. In the wilds I can cut my nails on the great rocks. They keep them short, here I cannot do it myself, and so the keeper has to do it for me. And I get the oil for my skin in the swamps when I'm free, and my feet are kept hard by the ground and rocks. We do not need the keeper's scissors and so forth when we are free, for old Mother Nature looks after those things for us. The marbles, said Daddy, were very proud because they had been used so much by boys and girls, especially by boys. Then, too, the elves had played marbles, as years before they had found out about them and thought they were lots of fun to play with. You are nothing but an ordinary marble, said one large and very blue marble to a little marble. But I am useful for playing. And I joggle along and roll much better than you do. You are so big, you are quite awkward. I'd feel pretty badly, said the big marble, if I were as cheap as you. You cost next to nothing. In fact, you didn't even cost a cent. Not one whole cent. The marble rolled along a little way as if it couldn't be too near the cheap marble. But a cent bought me, said the little marble. Yes, said the big marble proudly, it bought you and also a number of other marbles, too. You were one of 5 for a cent. 1 cent bought you and 4 others. Now, as for me, well, it took the whole of 5 cents to buy me. I know it, said the little marble sadly. My master only bought me yesterday, said the big marble. His friends have not seen me. They'll trade everything for me. Gracious, they'd trade dozens of little marbles just for me. I cost 5 cents. The children had arrived, but they did not seem to want to trade everything for it. One of them said, "It is a beauty, but then it is not nearly so nice to play with as the smaller ones. Besides, if I gave up a lot of small marbles for that big one I'd never be able to have a real game." And all the other children said just the same thing. They played and they played. But the big marble was so mad that it rolled away crookedly and no one thought so much of it. After the children had finished playing and had taken their marbles, and after the master of the big marble had put it away with the smaller ones, the little marble which had been bought with 4 others for a cent said, "Well, you may be handsome and big. But you are not nearly such fun as we are. Sometimes the cheap things are the most fun. It doesn't mean because you cost 5 cents that you can give more pleasure. I'm glad I can't be used all the time like you all are," said the big marble. I am too fine for little marbles, anyway. But all the little marbles were happy because they were the best for the children's games. The vegetables, said Daddy, had been put into the cellar for the winter. There were the potatoes, the apples for cooking, carrots, the squash family and many others. As they were talking the cook came down in the cellar. Well, said she to herself, it's nice to get something from the hothouse once in a while. I get so sick of these everlasting winter vegetables and apples that we keep in the cellar. It's nice to have a few tomatoes for a change. Down she put a box with bright red tomatoes, just from the hothouse. Well, vegetables, said the tomatoes, how do you do? We're quite well, said the vegetables and apples, who were rather quiet right now. I don't see why I shouldn't talk to you, though I'm pretty different from you, said the biggest tomato of all. And why shouldn't you be? Asked Mr. Potato. You have been in a hothouse, spoilt and petted. You'd be queer if you weren't superior. With sun and warmth, of course, you have a fine color. And the tomatoes agreed that they had had unusual advantages. A little girl named Laura, said Daddy, had been quite ill. One day she was wondering if she would ever feel like herself again, able to do things and to play around. She was sitting up by the window in a big chair. She was looking out, feeling very sad and forlorn, when suddenly she saw a funny old woman who looked just like a witch stop by the window and then walk right into the room. The funny old woman spoke at once. Don't be frightened, she said. I'm not going to hurt you. Instead, you see this pot of daffodils I am carrying? Yes, exclaimed Laura. Aren't they beautiful? I am so glad you like them, continued the old woman, for they are for you. For me? Repeated Laura. For me? Yes, said the old woman. When the spring comes I take a walk each day, carrying with me a pot of daffodils. When I see someone sitting in the window of a house looking sick and longing to go out, I just go right in and leave my pot of daffodils, for they are better than any spring tonic, to my mind. And the yellow flowers smiled at Laura and bobbed their pretty heads, saying, We'll make you well. And, sure enough, they really did more toward making Laura well than anything else. How could she help but feel better with the bright flowers smiling at her and cheering her up?